valuation of cyclical firms. Cyclical firms, how to do the valuation of cyclical firms. Now, first of all, we need to understand what is cyclical firm. Number two, a firm whose performance is linked with the business or economic cycles are referred as cyclical firms. Firms that rise and fall in line with the direction in which the economy is going are referred as cyclical firms. In case of cyclical firms, there is a very much positive correlation between the fortune of a cyclical firm and the economy than in the case of other firms. And that is your cyclical firm. So that means वो कंपनियां जिनकी की profitability, जिनके की sales is linked with the stage in which economy of the country is passing through, that is referred as cyclical firms. Now, is the cyclical firm same as the seasonal firm? And the answer of course is no. Cyclical firms are the firms whose revenue cycle is linked with the stage of economic cycle. Seasonal firms are the ones where the revenues of seasonal firms are linked with the season. Say for example, a company which is in the publishing of textbooks. Now this company will have major chunk of its revenues happening only in the beginning of the second half of the year, of the calendar year, and that is because जब स्कूल खुलते हैं तभी लोग किताबें खरीदते हैं, तो उनके जो revenues हैं they will be around the time when the schools are opening. Likewise, in case of fruit processing industry, now these are again a seasonal firm, and that is because their revenues are linked with the linked with the time. So जब वो सीजन फ्रूट्स का सीजन होता है तब उनके रेवेन्यू होते हैं और बाकी के समय में उनके रेवेन्यूज नहीं होते हैं. So that is the difference between the seasonal firms and cyclical firms. What are the peculiarities of a cyclical firm? The peculiarities of cyclical firms are: number one, cyclical firms are at the mercy of the economy. Number two, volatility in cash flow and earnings. Cash flow changes with the change in the stage of economic cycle. Now let's say for example hotel industry, for example aviation industry, for example white goods industry. Now when the economy of a country is passing through a downturn, so obviously the hotel industry, the tourism industry, the aviation industry, now these will be facing difficult times. And why they will be facing difficult times? Because since the economy is passing through the recessionary phase, nobody wants to spend money, and they definitely do not want to spend money on the luxury, right? And that is the reason why all these industries are known as cyclical industry, and their revenues are linked with the stage in which the economy is passing through. Now, within the cyclical firm, further peculiarities are: entities with high cost will find that the volatility in revenues will get magnified due to high operating leverage. So, which means what? Which means companies, cyclical companies, अगर उनका debt बहुत ज़्यादा है, so they will find the times to be that much extra difficult. And why is that so? Because debt अगर उनका ज़्यादा है और economy is passing through a recessionary cycle, that means revenue of the company are down, profit also of the company are down, EBITDA is also down. That means company does not have enough cash even to service the debt. And that is why अगर किसी कंपनी के पास में फिक्स कॉस्ट ज़्यादा है तो उस कंपनी को, उस साइक्लिकल कंपनी को उतनी ज़्यादा तकलीफ होगी. वैल्यूएशन विल चेंज एज दी चेंजेस इन द इकोनॉमिक साइकिल हैपेंस. एंड आई एम श्योर अगर आप देखेंगे तो जैसे जैसे रिसेशन ख़त्म होना शुरू होता है और रिकवरी चालू होती है, सो एज द स्टेज ऑफ रिकवरी स्टार्ट्स, immediately you will see that there is a change in the valuation of these companies. So if any of these companies are listed on the stock exchange, you will see the prices of these companies on the stock markets also start rising as the economy starts looking up. तो जैसे ही इकोनॉमी रिसेशन से एक्सपेंशन की तरफ मूव करना शुरू करती है, इमीडिएटली क्या होता है, बिकॉज द इकोनॉमी इज शिफ्टिंग फ्रॉम द रिसेशन टू द एक्सपेंशन, what starts happening, the economic activity in the whole economy starts growing, and when it starts growing, the purchasing power in the hands of the people in the economy also start increasing, and when the purchasing power in the hands of the people start increasing, obviously they have more cash available with them, more extra cash available with them, and therefore they do not mind indulging into to travel or tourism and things like that. So these, friends, are the peculiarities of cyclical firms. Now, just to give you a few examples as to which are the cyclical firms, to be specific. So automotive companies, white good companies, entertainment companies, heavy equipment manufacturers, airlines, electronic manufacturers, tourism industry. Now these are cyclical firms. इनके जो फॉर्च्यून्स हैं वो चेंज होते हैं बेस्ड ऑन हाउ इकोनॉमी इज मूविंग. And the non-cyclical firms or defensive firms are like FMCG or pharma or food industry because FMCG, आपको साबुन तो यूज़ करना ही है, तेल तो यूज़ करना ही है, शैम्पू तो यूज़ करना ही है, राइट. सो फास्ट मूविंग कंज्यूमर गुड्स इंडस्ट्री will always be a defensive industry. इकोनॉमी में कुछ भी होने तो लोग खाना तो खाने वाले ही हैं, लोग नहाने तो वाले हैं ही हैं, तो साबुन तो यूज़ करेंगे. सो दैट इज़ हाउ FMCG is a non-cyclical or defensive firm. Same is the case with the pharma. As a matter of fact, there may be adverse relationship between the economy and the growth in pharma. So अगर economy is passing through the recessionary phase, you will see more people falling sick. So when more people are falling sick, that means they need to buy more medicines. And if they have to buy more medicines, that means the pharma company will do that much well. Okay, that is on the lighter side. But otherwise, the pharma companies are also non-cyclical. यानी कि इकोनॉमी के साइकिल के हिसाब से उनके रेवेन्यूज में, उनके प्रॉफिट्स में कोई चेंज नहीं होता है. फूड इंडस्ट्री, ऑफ कोर्स वी अंडरस्टैंड दैट ऑल सेड एंड डन, खाना तुम्हें खाना ही खाना है ही है, उसमें तो कोई चॉइस ही नहीं है. तो और बिकॉज रिसेशन है, इसका मतलब कोई एक टाइम खाना शुरू करेगा या 2 टाइम खाना शुरू करेगा, 3 या 4 बार खाने के बजाय, ऐसा होता नहीं है. सो दीज आर एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ साइक्लिकल फर्म्स एंड ऑल्सो नॉन cyclical or defensive firms. Now, how to value cyclical firms? That's the question. So number one, basic aspects remain the same as for other entities valuation. तो जो वैल्यूएशन की अप्रोच है सेम रहने वाली है, इनकम अप्रोच, मार्केट अप्रोच एंड दी कॉस्ट अप्रोच, उसमें कुछ चेंज नहीं होगा. जो मेथड्स ऑफ वैल्यूएशन हैं वो भी सेम रहने वाले हैं, उसमें भी कुछ चेंज नहीं होगा. केयर विल नीड टू बी टेकन इन एस्टिमेटिंग फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज, टेकिंग इन टू अकाउंट the cyclical nature of the firm in cash projections. तो चूंकि आपको मालूम है कि ये कंपनी साइक्लिकल है, तो जब आप उसके फ्यूचर प्रोजेक्टेड कैश फ्लो बनाओगे तो वो जो इकोनॉमी का साइकिल है वो आपको इनकॉर्पोरेट करना पड़ेगा इन दी कैश फ्लो प्रोजेक्शंस. नंबर 3, डाउन टर्न एंड अप टर्न will need to be factored in the projections. And number 4, cost of capital will need adjustment for the additional risk. So please remember, a company which is a cyclical company, or that's a company that belongs to a cyclical industry, obviously cyclical industries are prone to more risk than the non-cyclical industry or the defensive industry. And therefore, when you estimate the cost of capital for a cyclical company, you will need to incorporate extra cost of capital so as to cover the extra risk which is applicable in case of cyclical firm only. Valuation of cyclical firms, and that is what as I have mentioned to you. So what you will need to do? You will need to do the normalization of the cash flows. So while applying discounted cash flow, estimates are normalized for all the key inputs such as earnings and cash flow from the operating assets are normalized. Growth in these assets is also normalized. Identification of the point when the normal point of the cycle will come. Establish a discount rate to be applied to the cash flow, taking into account extra risk which is involved in case of cyclical firms. Normal year, normal year would be the one which is at the midpoint of the business cycle. Identifying the normal year is critical in this process as the true intrinsic value would be arrived at if this is done properly, and that is an extra step that needs to be taken in case of valuation of a cyclical firm. And so which are the methods and the approaches that we would use for the purpose of valuation of a cyclical firm? Income approach. Number one, income capitalization may be relevant over a longer period. So in case of a cyclical firm, in case if you want to use the income capitalization method, you can definitely do that. Only thing what you need to do it कि जो आप पास्ट ईयर्स को जो कंसिडर कर रहे हैं, मेक श्योर दैट यू कवर कंप्लीट साइकिल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक साइकिल. सो अगर किसी इंडस्ट्री का इकोनॉमिक साइकिल 4 साल का है, 5 साल का है, तो आपको क्या करना होगा? आपको 4-5 साल का जो पूरा साइकिल है उतने साल के जो इनकम है वो उसको फिगर उसका एवरेज आपको लेना होगा. And number two, discounted cash flow will also be possible and relevant with incorporation of cyclicity. So that is what you will need to do in case of valuation of a cyclical firm using the income approach. तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं? इनकम कैपिटलाइजेशन मेथड यूज कर सकते हैं और आप साथ साथ डिस्काउंटेड कैश फ्लो मेथड भी यूज कर सकते हैं. मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि इन ए सिचुएशन लाइक दिस, take a call, take a view, and maybe what you need to do is neither to use income capitalization method alone, nor to use the discounted cash flow method again. Just take a view ki how much should be the impact of the past profits and how much should be the impact of the future profits on the valuation of this company. Accordingly, you can assign weights to the past year's profit and to the projected cash flow value, and this is how you figure out the valuation of a cyclical firm using the income approach. Market approach. Can you use the market approach in case of a cyclical firm? Comparable transaction based on multiples to turnover, customer, etc. You will need to find. So first of all, the challenge is that you need to find a comparable company or comparable transaction. So if you are able to do that, you can of course use the comparable transaction also. Many times companies may not be comparable on many accounts, requiring adjustment to multiples. वो हम समझते हैं कि इस पूरी दुनिया में कभी भी दो कंपनी एक जैसी मिलना इम्पॉसिबल है, कुछ ना कुछ डिफरेंस तो होंगे. तो अगर पब्लिक लिमिटेड कंपनियों में अगर बहुत सारे फ़र्क हैं, तो छोटी छोटी जो कंपनियां हैं और जो साइक्लिकल फर्म्स हैं उसमें और भी ज़्यादा डिफरेंसेस होने के रीजंस हैं. तो अगर आप कंपेरेबल ट्रांजैक्शन के बेसिस पर वैल्यूएशन कर रहे हैं, precaution that you need to take is to identify all such areas of differences between the target company and the reference company and adjust the value of the reference company for all the differences which are there between the target company and the reference company. Cost approach, can it be used? Cost approach in case of a cyclical firm, as we said in the context of earlier discussion, cost approach can also be used in case of a cyclical firm, but again you need to decide, are you doing valuation of the company as a running business, or this company is going in for liquidation and therefore you want to do the valuation of the firm for the purpose of liquidation. So if you want to do the valuation of the firm for the purpose of liquidation, of course you can use the cost approach, and this is how you will do the valuation of a cyclical firm.